porn screws up with your self-control, your impulses. They say 1,000-step journey begins with a single step. It takes time, takes effort, takes work, but this will be the best, if not one of the best investments in your life.
What's going on, Reboot team? Chris here with yet another testimonial from somebody who I've seen legitimately grow for a long time now, and I'm so excited that we got some time to chat. So excited to introduce him to you all. This is Raymond. How you doing today, sir?
Yeah, very well, very well. It's winter now. That's why I'm wearing like a puffer jacket. It's with 2 layers, so it's a bit cold here.
Yeah.
But no, I'm excited to be here tonight and share my experience in the Reboot program.
It's so funny, man, because we got a brother from down under over here, and here I am complaining about how hot it is in the summer here in New York. So it's wild, man. But let's talk, man. So here you are, an absolute Reboot OG, and let's start from the very, very beginning. I'm genuinely curious. How did you first discover the Reboot program?
So yeah, good question. Back in it'd have to be at least 5 years ago. So either like 2017 or 2018. Holy shit, that was a long time ago.
Yeah, yeah.
Damn, that's a long journey now that I think about it. So around 2017, 2018, more than 5 years ago, actually one of my friends was also like looking to like quit porn, was quite interested in this kind of stuff. And he actually first sent me one of JK's ebooks. I think it's the seven secrets of I can't remember the full title, but I think what I'm talking
I know.
about. That one. He sent that ebook and I first had a read and I was like, oh, okay, this is like pretty interesting. Okay, yeah, it's useful. But I was like, okay, cool. And I just put the ebook to one side. I was like, okay, I'm not gonna do anything about it. And then I think it was either after my memory might be a bit murky, but like a year or two, like when my porn addiction started, the frequency and intensity of the stuff I was watching started increasing and getting worse and worse, more and more serious. I was like, oh crap, I think I need some help now. I need some serious help. And that's when I guess officially joined the program back in 2022, I remember. 2022. And it's actually a bit of a story because 2022, I remember first joining I still remember the call when I was on with Hon. I was still back in New Zealand, my home. I was like in my parents' home, I think. I remember that scene. Like, I was like kind of low self-esteem, low point. I just wasn't at my just at a very just at a low point, I'd say. And I had that call, that first call, and I joined the program, and I think I still wasn't fully kind of, I'd say, like, I don't really fully trust the program. I was still very skeptical when I first joined, and I think I only joined for like a couple months, 3 or 4 months, and I quit. And then I quit the program. Han and I were going back and forth. I was trying to get my money back. I was like, "Can you give me a refund?" And it was pretty hard to get a refund back. And I was like, "Okay, okay, screw this. I'm gonna leave it and just try and work on my own thing, try and solve this myself." 1 year later, so in 2023, it was either early or mid 2023. I'll get in touch with Hon again. I was like, "Hey, I think I can't really. I'm still struggling with this. I want to rejoin the program." I rejoined the program, and then Hon was like, "You got to make sure this time you're committed and you're serious. Don't want you going in and out of the program." And I'm like, "Yes, I'm committed. I'm serious." And then when I joined the program from 2023, that's when I guess started taking this program seriously. And now 23, 24, 25, 3 years, more than 3.5 years later, here I am. I'd say I'm in my late stage of my reboot now. Rebooted, different man. Damn, it's been a long journey.
Yeah, let's put a pause button there because even myself, I didn't realize it had been that long of a journey. First discovering around, like you said, 2017, 2018 to where you're at now. Holy smokes. So, I mean, let's maybe talk about that for a little while. If you could sort of pick out some of the differences you've seen in yourself compared to before you discovered the program, I'm sure there are a bunch, but just the first few that pop into your head, how would you compare like the Raymond from like that 2017, 18 era to Raymond today?
Yeah, absolutely. Just a couple of things I can think of right off my mind. I'll just kind of spitball here. The first I would say is like my self-esteem and my self-confidence. So back then I had pretty low self-esteem. I had a lot of insecurity. I was constantly doubting myself, a lot of anxiety. And whereas now, 5 years, more than 5 years later, the self-esteem and self-confidence is very high. I still have insecurities. You're still human. You're still insecure and get stuff like that. But that'll be the first thing that pops to mind. That change, mindset and discipline also is also one part as well. Because like, porn screws up with your self control, your impulses. I could never before. I could never kind of follow through consistently on like, doing one thing, whether that was back then, whether it was like when I was in uni, I could never concentrate or like, start a project and I would never commit and see it through. Whereas now, like this, I guess that this me joining this program is testament to me kind of following through for these past 5 years, like on and off, but like, committing to one thing. That's one area as well I can think of. I can think of more if you want
No,
more
I
answers.
love that. I mean, that in itself, I'm sure contributes into a lot of other things because it's one thing to have a realization, like, oh, this is what I want to do with my life, or I want to do this, or whatever it is. It's one thing to think it, then it's another thing to actually follow through. It's a one thing to actually implement, right? Hence the name of the program, the implementation program. So I'm curious, what have been some of the tools that have helped you out as far as maybe getting yourself out of a jam or keeping things in perspective? What are some of the tools that you've learned along the way?
Yeah, good question. I think the biggest tool for me, which I still use to this day, is the dialogue. So dialogue is the number one tool for me. Whether that's having what do you call it? Just wanting to you watch porn or use dialogue, and it's not just it's become a part of me where it's like not just sexual, it's transcended way past that. It's like, even just day-to-day life, maybe emotions that pop up at work or with friends or whatever it is. It's been so ingrained in me that I just use it for anything. And I know after reading Breaking the Cycle, there's like a lot of like variations of the dialogue. It's kind of like the same concept and idea behind a lot of the tools, but the underlying writing things down and writing your emotions, journaling your things down is like kind of the, I guess, underpinning theme that kind of that I use for my dialogue. So I'd say dialogue is number one, and number two I'd say is just like does accountability count as a tool as well?
Totally. Well, yeah, let's dive into that. Go for it.
Accountability, like, I think, I mean, as well, I have a really close AP relationship with Andy Hillman, who's now the Reboot leader in the program. I would say a lot of my Reboot success is also largely credited to him, to be honest. He also always kept me like, accountable, whether that was after slips, he would check up on me and just make sure I actually follow through on the stuff that I said I would do, whether that'd be using the tools, like doing the morning routine. Oh yeah, speaking of morning routine, I'd say morning routine is also like a big tool that I still use and do to this day.
I love that, man. And speaking of guys like Andy, again, shout out once again to our reboot leader, Andy, absolute boss. But talk to me about the Facebook community as a whole and your experience there.
Yeah, yeah. The Facebook community was good. I'll be honest, and you probably realize like, I wasn't super. I feel like I'm a person that works best one on one instead of like in a group environment, group setting. So I don't feel like I posted or was super active on the Facebook group. So I just want to preface and say that first. But I remember when I was joining in the early to mid stages of my review, when I did post a bit more about my slips and stuff, the brothers were all very supportive, and they had a lot of, I guess, a lot of advice and like feedback on the stuff that I could try doing. And I remember I did implement some stuff there. Even if it wasn't just like kind of actionable advice, but like kind of that emotional support and being in that community, knowing that other brothers are going through the same thing, and also seeing. I remember because I'm APs with Ragu now. I still remember vividly when Ragu was like, constantly posting at one point, like every day for like, months and months on end. I remember that point. I was like, wow, that's inspiring. So that inspirational part is a key part, I'd say. But I think towards the end, I wasn't super active in the Facebook group, so I probably can't speak to as much as that as to some other brothers, if I'm
No, that's fair.
honest.
No, I appreciate that. But that motivational aspect, I think, is really, really key. And like you said, it's one thing to feel no one's going to understand what I'm thinking or feeling or going through. But then, even if you're just scrolling on through, you just see stories and posts of guys from all around the world that legitimately get it. You know what I mean? That actually understand not just like what you're feeling, but have gone through scarily similar circumstances. It's one thing that I've learned from the Facebook group, man, is that the more personal something is, the more universal it actually is. So so no, I thank you for sharing at least that because I think it's so important. And I'm also curious about your overall experience when it comes to the coaching calls. How have those been going for you?
Yeah, the coaching calls. I remember I have joined a couple of the coaching calls, but a lot of them weren't really convenient for my time zone. They were like 2, 3 a.m. So there were a couple I joined. I think the ones I found most useful were the ones of Milan. So I remember joining a couple of those coaching calls, and I did a couple one-on-one sessions with him as well, because I kind of really struggled with that, with the limiting beliefs and that insecurity and anxiety. That was a big problem for
Hmm.
me. So joining those calls, I think were very valuable and useful for me as well. In regards to like I think the JK calls, actual I think it was weekly JK calls. I don't think I joined as many as I as I should have. Now that I think about it and reflect on it. Yeah. So Milan call would probably be my go-to.
Nice. Yeah. Shout out to Milan. And not only were you a member of our implementation program, but I definitely also want to hear about your experience in our dating reboot program. I know you had learned a bunch, and as far as the confidence goes and the experience goes, I know you were certainly making strides there. Yeah, talk to me about dating reboot.
Yeah, sure thing. So dating reboot, I guess it kind of got me into the idea of, I guess, of cold approaching girls. And back then, like, when I joined the program, more than a year ago. Before then, I wasn't really having much success with girls. Like, I was on the apps or anything, and
Right.
I was using porn to kind of as a way to relieve that. So some of my, I guess, biggest takeaways from the dating reboot is number one, it like, made me initiate this journey of how to cold approach, how to talk to girls, how to overcome my like, approach anxiety, how to flirt and talk to girls. And also the weekly calls with Andrew was very helpful as well. He gave really great in-depth advice and tips, which I still use to this day. And yeah, having that community aspect too, with sharing other brothers going through managing to go through that phase. And I think I remember the biggest, I would say the biggest results outcome for me was like I ended my 1.5 year dry spell when
Yeah.
I joined the program. So 1.5 year I had no sex prior to that. And I'd say largely it was attributed to the group, the coach, the community, and my AP Andy at that time as well.
So good. Is there any, just out of genuine curiosity, is there any bit of advice from Dating Reboot? You said some things you still apply to this day. What have you learned that still kind of like resonates in your mind today?
I think there's a couple things. Number one is I know Andrew keeps on emphasizing like being like open, transparent, and authentic with the girl, and like not really like, playing games, like being honest with what you want. I think that's not something that's like, just from the program, but I think that's something I one of my personal values and principles as well. So it aligns with me. So that is one area that like I take. So like even when I'm like, out there talking to girls, I'm still very transparent, and open with what I want or what I want to get out of it, and it's not like I'm like, manipulating girls or like, taking advantage of them. That's one, and another one that I can think of is just like, giving value to people. I know something Andrew constantly talked about. So giving value, just like if you're gonna if you, especially if you're running social circle game or if you're like, in a group setting, if you can give value and not necessarily think about what you can take, but how you can give value, then
Yep.
you give value will naturally come back to you. And I think this is the last thing is probably just like this thing is probably more like a mindset thing, but like, cold approaching is, excuse my language, fucking tough. It's
Yeah,
fucking
it can be.
it's fucking rough out there, and it is a journey. It is a journey. And Andrew mentioned how he's probably approached and had more rejections and done more approaches than all of us combined for, like, to date. And I believe him. It's a journey, and it's like you have to, even though like as guys, and we naturally want the outcome and the result ASAP, right? But
Mm,
it's a journey that takes time, and I think I've just learned to start I think I've just learned to kind of trust the process. For example, like now I've actually moved cities again. When I was previously in another city, I moved like 3 weeks ago, and I was very keen to build my rotation, like, see girls and like have fun, and eventually sleep with them. I was like very kind of keen, but I feel I don't need, even though I might think that way. I'm fine if I don't end
Mm.
up sleeping with a girl. I'm fine with that. Like, I'm having fun. Like, I don't need to have sex with a girl to feel content and feel fulfilled. And this is kind of getting deep here, and I know I'm kind of ranting here, but like, I think this part about I think this part is important about not needing sex to feel fulfilled. This comes from the fact that my own validation and belief and confidence in myself is strong enough that I don't need girls. I don't need sex to feel happy and feel content. And just me like going out doing approaches. Even like today, I was out for an hour and I made zero approaches. I did no approaches today. Like, it's still a journey, still a process that I constantly, like, I guess, reflect and I try and enjoy, even though there might not be any results right now. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I thank you for sharing all that, man. And there's a lot to dive into. I mean, the only
Yeah.
thing I'll really say when it comes to, I love that you emphasize the last point. It's I don't need to sleep with a particular person to feel validated or more of a man or I'm having success in some way. You know what I'm saying? It's about that intimacy aspect, just straight up. It's like, are you actually taking the time to get to know who you're interacting with? Is there a genuine curiosity to actually form some sort of relationship, no matter where it goes? And but particularly for guys like us with a past behavior of whether it's porn or other sexually compulsive behaviors, there is that sort of muscle memory where it's like, I want what I want, when I want it, and I want it now. That sense of like immediacy, especially when we're used to that kind of relationship where we don't need to contribute. We just show up and we kind of like get what we want. And we're so used to that. And that type of thing can sort of translate into our other interactions and relationships. But I'm so proud of you, man, because like I said, it takes a special kind of work to be able to kind of break, no pun intended with the book, but break that kind of cycle and to actually put intimacy first, to actually put genuine interest in the person that you're interacting with. Because we know what it's like to kind of like find ourselves in patterns of like objectifying people, and we may not even realize it. And I'm proud of you, man. And I love the pace that you're on. I love the journey that you're on. And I love that you say that you're still on the journey. There's more to learn, but brother, you've learned a lot. There's room to grow, but you've grown a lot. So I'm really excited for you, man. I appreciate you sharing all
Thank
that. Yeah.
Thank you, thank you. I think I realized, like, I didn't even realize. I don't. I feel like I haven't taken the time to properly reflect on these past 5 years and how far I've come until like, we actually sat down and spoke about this
This is
today. Like,
literally what this call is for. It's sort of like go in. Yeah, tell me about it.
how do I say this? It might not be like directly relevant to the porn program, but like another kind of main kind of takeaway that I realized, and I think a lot of brothers will realize as they go through the program and this journey, is that you start to kind of, I don't mean to say this in a cocky or arrogant way, but like you start to kind of outgrow a lot of your friends. Start to when I say outgrow your friends, I mean in terms of like mindset, the way they, because this program, a lot of people, well, a lot of friends, it's normal for us to have like fixed mindset, right? But like, naturally, the people who kind of go through this program don't have a fixed mindset. They have a growth mindset. So as you grow through this journey, like, you naturally kind of outgrow your friends. Not just mindset, could be hobbies and interests as well, where they want to go clubbing or drinking or do drugs, whatever it is that they want to do. And you're like, no, I don't really want to live that life anymore. I've really noticed that this program has definitely instilled like, strong principles, like, behavior, for example, the morning routine, which my friends don't understand. You're just at different like wavelengths in life. And I don't mean this, once again, I don't mean this in a cocky or arrogant way. It's like you outgrow them, and naturally you lose friends as a result. And I'm witnessing this right now. I'm experiencing this right now, like kind of losing friends. A bit of a side note. So like, part of it is because like throughout the whole dating reboot thing, I'm also trying to I want to coach guys dating as well. I'm just kind of starting my own things. So I've been posting some content, but I kind of pause it for now. But the point I'm trying to make is through that kind of this new adventure, I've lost friends. A lot of friends don't really agree with what I have to say. They don't stand by it, and they don't see where I'm coming from, which is totally fine. But I think the point I'm trying to make here is that this journey that began 5 years ago, this kind of growth mindset, this journey of always going up, you can only reach the peak, but then there's the next peak to climb. The further you go, the more I feel like I was actually telling a friend this yesterday, like the further up you go, the lonelier it becomes.
Yeah.
The lonelier it becomes because less and less people can actually relate to your lifestyle and to what your goals, your ambitions, and what you're achieving, and it feels lonely at times. But I'd rather be authentic and stay true to myself than appease the mass or appease other people, appease my friend group to try and fit in and feel accepted as part of society. I'd rather chart my own path, and this is the path I've chosen. And I guess these are also the so-called consequences of losing friends along the way. I kid you not, I'm experiencing this right now. One of my friends called me yesterday, and he was drunk as well, and he bottled it up. He's like, "Look," he's a close friend. He's like, "Look, I can't support you on your new journey, your new adventure. If you keep on doing this, we can't be friends anymore. I'm gonna stop it from here." And he actually cried over the phone. He actually got quite emotional. But anyways, outgrowing and outliving your friend is another point I wanted to make throughout
There's
this
a
process.
lot. Thank you. There's a lot to dive into there because
I gave you a lot. Yeah, I gave you a
no,
lot.
no,
Yeah.
I think it's really important because when you start with managing your behaviors, your self-image is bound to change, therefore your standards are bound to change. And the moment you start adhering to those standards, and actually, we said before, it's one thing to think it, but another thing to follow through. And yeah, you start chasing that mountain peak, like you said. Yeah, I mean, your demeanor changes. And that's the whole thing about like behavioral modifications. I mean, shout out to JK. He says it all the time. This is not simply just about the porn stuff. This is a self-identity change. So that's
Couldn't
living proof.
agree more. Couldn't
Yeah.
agree more.
In that spirit, there's a question that I like to ask on calls like these, and basically goes like this. Let's imagine having experienced what you've experienced so far and having learned what you've learned, and you on that sort of mountain trek. Let's imagine you get in touch with somebody who is struggling with an out of control compulsive behavior, and they confide in you and they share this with you. Having learned what you've learned so far, is there anything that you would want to share with that person?
I think that's a deep question. I think the first thing I'd say is I just want to say thank you for being vulnerable and for taking the very first step. They say 1,000-step journey begins with a single step. I'm not sure if you've heard that phrase saying before. Taking the first journey step to recognize that you have a problem with your behavior, you're heading in the right direction. You're already ahead of 99% of guys out there who probably never never realize or solve this addiction, this problem. That's probably the first thing I'd say, and I'd refer them to the program, depending on how serious they are. There you go. Yeah,
That probably was going to be my follow-up question. Literally, would you go ahead and recommend this program?
yeah. Of course, of course. I'll probably refer them to the program. Yeah.
So sick. Dude, thank you so much. There's a lot to chew on, obviously, with your own experience and your story, because there's so much to pull from experience-wise. But I know for a fact that, yeah, there's a lot to learn from. And I appreciate you sharing as much as you did. Before I let you go, man, I mean, let's imagine somebody who's listening to this or watching this. First of all, if they're watching or listening to this, then odds are pretty high, then they might have a history with some sort of compulsive behavior, right? So, yeah, I mean, any sort of parting words of encouragement, whatever, that might, if someone's still kind of on the fence about what to do, what's the next move, right? Anything you would want to share to a person like that?
I think I'd say what I say. It's like I know you're on the fence. I was there as well. As well as I shared earlier, I was very skeptical. I even quit the program a couple months in. That's how skeptical I was. But look at me now. It's 5 years later. It takes time, takes effort, takes work. But this will be the best if not one of the best investments in your life if you go down this path. And I know it's expensive, but it's worth it.
And there you go. Raymond, everybody. Dude, thank you so much for your time and all the continued success to you on your mountain peak trip.